Video games, toy guns, and the internet are corrupting our children. That's something I often hear around this time of year, especially as people are buying gifts. And so, happy holidays, or Merry Christmas, if that is what you celebrate this time of year. Today, let's talk a little bit about giving gifts, because you've probably bought quite a few for this holiday season. How do we navigate the gifts that are available, and often our children and our friends and our loved ones want, that seem to condone violence? Because let's face it, within our society, there are gifts and video games and movies that we consider to be fun, which are also very violent. For instance, this last week, I watched Die Hard with my daughter as a Christmas movie for the first time. And one of the things I often hear, especially from other pastors, is, why would you do that? Die Hard is not just a movie that you should be avoiding showing your kids. It's not something that is appropriate for a person in your position as a pastor. We are living in a violent world, and we cannot avoid violence within the world, either in our media or in our lives. And so we need to understand how we are going to deal with it when we come into contact with it. And one of the ways in which we as people growing up in this imperfect world do that is through play. And this is the message that Jesus gives his followers in the parables of the weeds. We live in an imperfect world. We are seeds that are planted in a field that does not always treat us well. For instance, in Matthew chapter 13, verse 38, Jesus says, "The field is the world, and the seeds are the children of the kingdom." We can't change the world, but we can determine how we grow as seeds of love within that world. And so as moral people, we have to decide, how do we want to engage with the world? I, as a parent and a pastor, choose to prioritize fun. And sometimes having fun means that we are doing activities that reflect the violence that is within the world. When we engage in those activities, it provides an opportunity to discuss those activities, to let people know why that violence is wrong and how we can engage with it in a way that is healthy and life-giving. Others choose to avoid play that engages that type of violence, and that's their choice. But it does run the risk of avoiding those conversations that we need to have about the violent world that we live in. And so, whether or not we wish to give gifts that embrace violence in play, that's something that we have to decide for ourselves. It's ultimately a judgment call on how we wish to grow as seeds of goodness within an imperfect world.